Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Quality Talks podcast. We've actually made it into double digits. We're at episode 10, believe it or not. I know.
Hello?
I literally can't believe we got here. To think where we started with the idea of starting off this podcast, and the time over the last, not quite a year, but over maybe the last 8 months or so has just absolutely flown by, and I think we've learned so much during that. So yeah, it's a bit of a celebration for us, and without going into numbers, we can see that we're trending in the right direction, and we really do appreciate everybody for listening in and tuning in to us via the various channels. And long may that continue, and hopefully you can share the word about the Quality Talks podcast with your friends and family or work colleagues, and get more people tuning in. But you might have seen and been following on our LinkedIn posts that episode 10 is going to be called This or That. We've kind of left it open-ended and let people kind of make assumptions of what we could be diving into. But I just wanted to give a little bit of context of where the title come from around this or that. So first off, I've been doing, like I mentioned last time on the podcast, I've been doing a bit more research into human psychology, and trying to understand like our thought process and decision making, how we go about it as human beings. And I come across a really good article, and if you've not heard of this gentleman, please go and give him a follow on LinkedIn. But he's called Richard Hughes Jones, and he has his own site that you can go to, and there is a lot of great content on there. And there was an article that I was reading through, and it's called The Duck, Rabbit and the Polarities of Leadership. And basically it goes into understanding things that are complete polar opposites, like the this or the that situation, and understanding some of the key benefits and trade-offs of the two. So I'll not mention any more on it, but what we can do is we'll share a link to Richard's page where you can find that, and you can go have a read for yourself. As a new year dawned upon us, and we talked about our New Year's resolutions on the last podcast, we quickly found ourselves in the midst of the storm that we seem to see every single year, definitely the last 10 years on LinkedIn in our community, and the topic of conversation being manual versus automation testers, and how people are labelled in our industry by their particular skill set, which tied in nicely to the polarities conversation and the material that I was reading as well. So I thought, why not do an episode on this or that, and we can tie it into our expectations and insights around our industry and the particular roles, and where we might have this and that situations, but we could also have a little bit of fun with it as we go along, and maybe play a little game of this and that. So as well, obviously there's been like the last 4 or 5 weeks, we haven't put anything out, but we have been working tirelessly behind the scenes, thinking about what the next 12 months has in store for the Quality Talks podcast, but also Quality Talks as a brand. And I'll let Stu elaborate a little bit more on what's been going on and kind of what you can expect to see in the coming months from the brand and from both of us.
Yeah, cool. Hey everyone. But Chris, is it too late to say Happy New Year? Have I missed the window? I mean, I've said it now anyway. But
it depends, Stu. Have you still got your Christmas tree up?
Do you know what? I might have. I'm not sure.
Because if you've still got it up, then you've probably got a few days to still get in a new year.
New Year. Happy New Year to everyone anyway. I've said it now. So, yeah, it's great to be back on. Looking forward to this episode as well. We were chatting beforehand, and I think there's a lot to kind of unpack around this topic right now. Different areas and stuff like that. But yeah, as Chris was mentioning, obviously we haven't put anything out for a few weeks, but we've been there's been a lot going on in the background with the Quality Talks brand as a whole. So you may have seen some posts on LinkedIn. The Quality Talks website is in progress of being built and will hopefully be launched in the next couple of weeks, I would say, where it will have basically that will become our central hub for all the content that we're going to be putting out, all the offerings of the Quality Talks brand will be delivering. So the podcast is one of those things, but there'll be a lot more. There'll be blog content, there'll be newsletters. We're looking at how we can set up some events, meetups, those kind of things, and so on. So there's going to be a whole host of different opportunities out there for us from a brand perspective, and bringing the community together in different ways, which is our big goal. So that's I'm really excited about that. And obviously we've got the book that I've been in the process of writing. So yeah, it's taking time. It's just finding time with everything else to do a little bit here and there, but I'm enjoying it. I keep getting writer's block though. I'll start writing something and I'm like, oh, is that right? Isn't that? I need to just get it down and just keep rolling, and then get somebody else to worry about it afterwards when they review it. So Chris, you've obviously done a little bit of reviewing for me, just with the intro itself. So I just need to get into that habit of letting it fly. But that's all going to be under the Quality Talks brand as well. So we're going to be publishing books under the Quality Talks brand. And me and Chris have talked about other books that we will potentially be venturing into, whether that be co-writing or co-authoring, should I say, or individually, whatever that might look like. So loads of exciting things coming. Looking forward to this year. Hopefully it's going to be a big one to expand and get the Quality Talks brand out there more. So well, what have you been up to, Chris, anyway, other than reading LinkedIn, obviously, like you said? But...
yeah I've been a LinkedIn warrior for the last few weeks, but it's interesting to see like just the different trends and stuff through different platforms and things, and see what's at the forefront of people's minds as they go into the new year. What's people really thinking about, and what kind of tapers off pretty quickly after the first few weeks, and kind of what sticks with over the coming months. And I think those sticking points are kind of the ones that influence the landscape of technology, and especially quality year on year, so they're the ones to look out for. But other than that, not too much. I had a little shout out for somebody, but I had the experience of going down to London for the first Ministry of Testing meetup down there. It was packed. I couldn't believe how many people had actually turned up, and got a chance to network with a number of people, and even see some old faces from one of my previous employers as well, which was really nice. But a bit of a shout out to Gary Shannon as well for organising that with the people from the Ministry of Testing. I think he did an incredible job of getting everybody together, and I look forward to the next one, and see what's in store for that meetup. And maybe you never know, one day you might see me and Stu there bringing some topics of conversation on that platform as well. But that was one of the main things, and that was recent for me. So
and just on that, obviously I was supposed to be one of the panel guests on at that meetup, and unfortunately I've been dealing with some health challenges, so to speak, over it feels like for ages, but more so over the recent months, that have sort of been throwing me left and right. So unfortunately I wasn't able to attend, so I missed that, unfortunately, but hopefully be able to get to the next one, like you say. And disappointed I couldn't be there when I saw how many people were there, and obviously a lot of people that trying to it's makes it even worse. But we have to look after ourselves, right, and make those decisions. So apologies to those people that were going there to see me. I mean, I get it, I understand, but I'm sure you all had an amazing time without me.
Well, I think 2025 is going to give people a lot more opportunity to get a little bit more of Chris and Stu in their lives, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Through various platforms, and if you want to read a little blog post for a bedtime story from us, then go for it, or you can
100%.
start watching us as part of your commute. But yeah, there'll be loads of other opportunities available. But
there will be, and one of the big things this year will be that we launch our own meetup, and me and Chris were talking about this yesterday, wasn't it? We were having a chat about this actually, Chris, and we may. I think the aim will be to do our first one up in Newcastle. I think that's where we've got to do it. So if there's anybody listening out there that would love to host our very first meetup, and potentially it will be a podcast recording type meetup as well, so with panel and audience participation, let us know. We're up for it. So yeah. But the other thing to think about is obviously, new year, thinking about how we can make the podcast a little bit different and bring new content and stuff like that. We've talked about bringing new features, haven't we, to each episode?
We have indeed.
So moving forward, we'll have a new feature every episode, or we'll have features that will, depending on if we've got guests on or anything like that, we'll bring into the mix and stuff. So I've got an idea of a cool feature, Chris. You up for it?
Oh yeah, we'll go
you up for it? It's all tied into the episode. Don't worry, it's not like
right.
I
normally brace myself when you say you've got an idea.
You're not the only one that says that either. It's a bit worrying. So how about we play a game of this or that?
I win.
Do you know the rules?
It's this or that, right?
It's this or that, right? Yeah, exactly. So I'll start, and then you, and then we'll alternate. That's the word, isn't it? Alternate. We'll alternate. All right, cool. So really easy one to start with. You ready? Right, here we go. Chocolate or crisps?
It's got to be chocolate. I mean, I'm shrugging that one off as like if there was a little bit of a decision making involved, but no, it's
I thought, yeah.
It's, what about you? So, Netflix or gym?
Ooh, that one hurts.
Yeah, I've done you dirty there.
You've done me dirty. Gym. But on the side, I might watch a little bit of Netflix while I'm in the gym.
Yeah. on the treadmill watching Netflix.
Yeah.
That's what I would be doing it anyway.
Yeah. Summer or winter?
Oh, summer. I love being outside. I feel like I've been cooped up too long, and at the minute, and I'm looking for the turn of spring and to be able to get outside. And if anyone who knows me interests, I love gardening, and I'm a keen golfer as well. So outdoor activities for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oasis or Coldplay?
Oh, Coldplay all day.
Really?
Coldplay all day. I love a bit of Chris Martin.
I
that guy.
He's
my man crush. Other than you, Chris, he's my man crush. Honestly, and their latest track that they released.
No.
You're rubbish. So anyway, their latest track. I can't remember the name of the track, but there's a video out there where Chris Martin. Do you know Dick Van Dyke?
No.
So Dick Van Dyke, Mary Poppins. He's the chimney guy in the Mary Poppins. There's people out there that know who Dick Van Dyke is, right? But he's coming up to be 100 this year. Dick Van Dyke is, right? Mm-hmm. Amazing guy. But they got a video of him, them performing together, and it's just man, it's brilliant. Anyway, sorry, I digress. But yeah, Coldplay. Coldplay. I can't handle. But I'm not even going to go. I'm not even going to explain myself. No, Coldplay. Oh, let's think about this one. TV shows or movies?
TV shows.
TV shows.
It's got to be TV shows all day. I'll especially when they've all been released and like in a series, and I can binge watch them.
Binge watch.
Just love that.
Yeah. Binge watch. Yeah.
Ooh. Cheese toasty or sausage roll?
Oh man. Depends on the sausage roll.
You wouldn't think I've just ate me tea. Well, that's what Geordie's called dinner.
Yeah, you have to explain that one.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm going to go in. I'm going to say sausage roll.
Yeah, good choice.
Sausage
good
roll.
choice.
Because sometimes if I have a cheese toasty, I burn my tongue and I don't like it. So, right, this one's going to proper stump you. I know for a fact. Right. So you ready? Manual tester or automated tester?
I can't even comment on that, Stu. I mean, that's absolutely horrific. Neither. Absolute neither.
Neither. Well, it brings us nicely into the episode then, doesn't it? Eh? Mm-hmm. So I think I like that game though. I think that's really good. I do enjoy that game. But interestingly enough though, we've just kind of gone one or the other there. But everything kind of depends on the context, right? It's like
it does, yeah.
So I think it's an interesting game. I do like it though. What's the like the where your gut goes almost. So yeah, cool, good stuff. So shall we get into this episode then? Let's get into this topic of this or that when it comes to testing and this whole thing around manual testing, automated testing, manual tester, automated tester, yada 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 yada. Where do you start?
I mean, so where do we start? I mean, for me, there was a number of LinkedIn posts, and to be honest, I can't remember the names off the top of my head. But what we'll do is I'll try and find them out, and for the people that want to just explore a little bit further, we'll make reference to them, and you can go check it out. But basically, there was a lot of conversation cropping up around the naming of testers by their apparent skills being manual or automation.
Yeah.
And thinking of them as two polar opposites, basically, and that they had nothing in common. And it was a decision, this versus that. And I really do hate it that we do that, because it makes no sense to label somebody by a skill set. And that's what we're doing. Like, at the end of the day, when you label somebody a manual tester, like, what does that even mean without the context of what they do?
Yeah.
And what does automation mean? Like, how much do they automate? At what levels do they automate? Like, it makes no sense. And it made us think about like a situation, and I'd actually wrote a comment on it, and I said, for one, I can't believe we're still having this conversation going into 2025, like the difference between the two. But if, say, you had a quality engineer or a quality role within your team, and that person didn't have a particular skill set yet, because we all have the opportunity to evolve and learn new things, but within their team, they didn't have a particular skill set to exercise the opportunity to introduce automation to make things a little bit more efficient within the team and the way in which they were trying to ensure the quality of the product. So they leveraged the skill sets of the engineers or developers within their teams. And by doing that, they then face the situation where they can actually carry on and automate a particular situation and improve things for the team. When the developer picks up that ticket to do the automation, would we then say, I need to stop you there. When you pick up this ticket, we're now going to change your title. So you are no longer an engineer, you're an automation engineer, because that's an automated ticket. Like, we just don't do that, right? So it makes no sense to do it in the context of quality roles. And we have to keep defending ourselves again and again and again. And we almost do it to ourselves within this space as well. It's almost like we think like, years ago, automation, people used to think it was the silver bullet. It was going to fix everything. And I think that kind of mentality still is around, and it's seen as something that almost makes somebody more senior in their role because they have that particular skill set, or it's a way of bringing them out of the crowd. Go on, Stu.
Yeah, I was going to say, you say there about it more senior, but almost to a point of like being more important as well.
Yes, yeah,
which isn't absolutely the case, right?
And like, it should never be like that. And automation is only a small piece of the puzzle in what we do. And it's just a tool and a skill set that we can leverage. And is it the most important one? Absolutely not. And you're only going to automate something that you already know the outcome of.
Yeah.
You can't automate something when you don't know what the outcome's going to be, because you've got nothing to assert against.
Exactly.
So the bread and butter of our role does not lie in automation. So why do we define it this way and separate the two? Just have it as an extended skill set of a particular quality role.
Yeah. But also, when we're writing the code, we're doing it manually, right? Oh, actually, other than if you bring AI into the conversation, and then there's like, well, I'm going to take that. I'm going to move that over there to a different episode, because we are lining up. You know this, Chris, at the moment, but I'm having conversations. We're going to line up a whole episode on AI, which is going to be fun. But like you say, it's like we've developed code manually for years and years and years, right? And you know, but even like coming back to the title of manual tester, automated tester, we were talking offline before, that doesn't really have any context, right? Because I'm like, well, manual tester for what?
Yeah.
Right. Well, you're a software tester. Okay, so just call me a software tester then. Whether I'm doing things manually or whether I'm doing things in an automated way, it's irrelevant. This is the subset of skills that I need for this role, right? Because within a role that you need automation experience, you're also going to need manual experience because you write your code manually, or you do this, or you do that, or you need to understand how the application is supposed to work, to your point, before you can actually write any automation and then make those assertions. And so, but I've 27 years. I've been in this industry, right? And it's true what you said, right? We do it to ourselves.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we keep doing it to ourselves. It's like, this is people in leadership roles that are recruiting for these roles, and they're calling them those specific titles, right? And that needs to stop. It needs to change. Right? And I apologize if you're one of those people out there listening right now, but it's true. I used to do it. I used to call things manual and auto, and it, it's not the right thing to do, because the emphasis shouldn't be on it being an automated tester or a manual tester, and it's the skill set you need within. So just, if you want to do something, just call it a software tester, just call it a quality engineer. And this is the type of skills that I need for this role, right? Okay, it's more heavily weighted towards X or more heavily weighted towards Y, but it doesn't have to be this or that, right?
And I think it's really interesting as well because like I mentioned before, going back to like human psychology, I think of like what that actually does to us when we label people in that way.
Yeah.
And we all want to create high performing teams and have cultures of innovation and immense like growth and learning opportunities and things. But labeling people in this way goes against that. It doesn't allow people to expand because it traps them by title. They're not going to go and explore new skill sets and new ways of doing things and try to innovate when you're saying basically by title, this is what you do and that's all you can do. So you're trapping people.
Exactly.
So there is, by removing that from the title and like when you're writing job descriptions and stuff, that's the most important thing. And when somebody asks you, what do you do? Don't refer to yourself as automation tester or manual tester because somebody else labeled it to you. Even if you just want to say, I'm a tester, I'm a quality engineer, whatever. But elaborate on that as well. Don't just stop there with your title and explain a little bit more about your role and your responsibilities and the things that you're interested in. And that'll help people build up a picture of who you are and what your job role actually entails and what you do for your organization. And then off the back of that, people can really determine the value that you bring as an individual in the organization. Because we keep hearing these, and I think this is another thing the industry does wrong, where we, same ways that we label particular roles in that way, and we also almost like hurt ourselves by doing that. When we lost me train of thought there. What was it again? Bastard.
you see how emotional this makes us. It's like,
yeah,
that's the thing. You're like,
I was saying about it was a really good one and all. Bugger, mind
it'll come
blanks.
back. It'll come back to you.
Yeah.
It will come back to you. It's the age. It's the age.
Yeah,
I get it.
There's some editing for you.
No, that's staying in. But I just want to bring it back there because you and if that point does come back, just stop me, right? Just go stop, right? But I want to bring it back to something we were talking about before we came on air, right? And obviously this sort of came from the blog post that you mentioned about Richard Hughes Jones and about finding that balance, right? And it doesn't have to be one or the other. You need to find that sweet spot. You need to find that balance of what are the skills we need to ensure our team or our teams are successful and they're able to do what they need to do. And I think that's what really for me is key when you're looking at, you don't look at an individual, but you look at the need of a team. Right. So what's the skill set that this team is lacking? Okay, that might be somebody that has automation skills, right? Or it might be that somebody that's got really a lot of experience with exploratory testing. So then they're able to carry out exploratory testing in a way nobody else in the team can. Right. So looking at it more holistically from a skill set perspective, rather than I need somebody by this title or that title, because you can bring somebody in and then they can develop those other skills if you need them, right? And they can become a bit of more of a, an all-rounder if that's what you need moving forward and that's the direction they want to go. But for me, it's all about finding that balance. Every team will be different as well in terms of what they need. And part of me is, I'm still on the fence with the whole quality engineer title, but as in, what does that really mean? Because everybody's like got different, their own versions of it, and it's like, oh, okay, we really like do this to ourselves, don't we? That's all I'm going to say. But I almost prefer that because it's a more generic title that underneath the hood enables you to be a bit more creative of what the skill sets are.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you need that. So to me, point before what I was going to say is this is where we hinder ourselves by calling ourselves in that way by a particular title, and by doing that, we create situations where people are siloed into one way of working or another, and it doesn't allow them to explore new ways. And I think this is where we fall into the trap by doing that. Of sometimes you'll see on LinkedIn or across our industry, people don't understand the value that quality brings.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll axe all quality roles out. Sometimes we have to constantly justify ourselves. And I think it starts with title of our roles, because if we have, to your point, a title that isn't like manual or automation, it's like quality engineer, and then we can elaborate on what that means to us in our organization, in our job description, and then we're able to articulate then all of the different points, how we can add value in the way in which we work that helps other people, business stakeholders, investors, whatever, to understand what our role brings. And because it's not as descriptive, it makes people more curious about what you do. They can't make assumptions based on that role title. So then it opens up more organic conversations. And then I think that if we remove this whole manual or automated approach to our job titles, we wouldn't have a lot of the issues of us having to justify ourselves in a tech industry and the value that we bring.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think it's the kind of coming back to the what's in a title, right? I think you said it when we were talking. A title without context is nothing.
Yeah.
Right. I asked you chocolate or crisp. Now I know you're a big fan of chocolate, right? So you don't need context, right? Yeah. But if I'd have turned around and said chocolate or crisps, and the chocolate is a type of chocolate that you don't like,
dark chocolate,
right? So immediately you go crisps, right?
Yeah.
So context changes everything, and just by saying this or that in terms of a title, it's meaningless, but it holds a lot of weight as well.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, somebody that's branded as an automation tester may feel like they're more senior, or they might be seen as more senior, right? Or more important, or get paid more, or and that shouldn't be the case. And I come back, and I'm going to bring it back, and I'm going to keep banging this point. The leaders in our industry that are out there in your organizations that are recruiting for these roles, and if you're using the term manual tester or automation tester or anything of that, sort of framing, stop doing it.
Yeah.
Just stop doing it. Because and then we get into the discussions about SDETs, and we just keep doing it to ourselves, right? But at least have some framing around those roles, right? At least with an SDET, the actual title talks about software development engineer, right? And so on. So you kind of get an idea of what the role's about, right? But
and it always
even then,
elaborates
everybody
on
has a different experience of what an SDET is. It's like, oh my
exactly,
head.
but then even with an SDET, like you can still go back to the description of SDET roles, and it all then comes back to like the building blocks of quality and the building blocks of software engineering,
Exactly.
And the variety that you need for your particular organization is going to be different depending on the context and the situation at hand, but the building blocks remain the same, which then we don't have to question,
exactly and we don't proper on my high horse tonight, but it's such a a problem. It is such a problem because people will automatically say, I can't apply for that role because I don't have that skill. Or, they only want automation testers and I really want to be one, but I can't. You know what I mean? And people won't train up. Anyway, I'm not saying everybody, but you just get into this situation where it's really hard for people.
Mm-hmm. One thing, because you touched on it there, you said about automation testers and how they may use that to get more money or kind of social status or position in a company and things like that. And it's seen as kind of a hierarchy within our roles. But you've got to think of what does that do to people who are labelled manual testers and the demoralizing effects that can have, and it downplays the fantastic contributions that role brings. Even with the absence of automation skills, like we said, what you would never be able to develop those automation skills without and apply them in a way that adds extreme value if you never had the background and understanding of quality principles and fundamentals. And I think it's wrong to label it in the way that we do because of the emotional effect as well that it has on people. And also, like, when we're recruiting for people, it's a 50-50 relationship. And I think organizations forget this. We are trying to sell ourselves as an organization, if we are the ones who are recruiting, to that individual as a place of opportunity for their career development and happiness. And they're trying to sell themselves with the skill sets and the personality and values that they bring. And we should be thinking, if there is any opportunity to develop that person, that's a selling opportunity to us, and we should be leveraging it better as organizations. So if somebody does come in a particular role and we would like them to have that skill set, we don't need to change their title. We just need to give them the opportunity to learn and support them.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the other thing is, for me, it's like when I kind of come back to it and just say, just advertise a role or give the title as software tester or quality engineer, and then base it on the skill sets you need, right? So the profile of the role is what you're recruiting for rather than the title of a role. Because actually, there's no such thing as an automation tester because they're writing code that then performs the automation, right? Which actually doesn't. Oh well, let's get into the testing versus checking. No, let's not. But you know where I'm going with that, right? It's solely they're using automation to help carry out a task, right? They're not doing the testing in an automated way. So the title just is so yeah. Just I'd much prefer it if people was to say the role is for a software tester, and here's the skill sets you need, right? But also, I hate the word manual.
Yeah, me too.
I hate it with a passion, right? Like you say, we don't say manual developer. We don't say manual product owner. We don't say. So why do we feel the need that we need to throw that in there, right? It's just testing.
When you've got the two in comparison, it alludes that the manual tester has no technical skills, which is so wrong. Like, there's so many technical aspects to that type of role and the foundations of our industry around like critical thinking and understanding complex systems and architecture and like design patterns and like APIs and things like that. And
exactly, right?
Like
everything you need,
everything's technical.
Everything you need to then be able to write an automation test with confidence that actually does what it's supposed to do. You need all of that stuff in the first place, right? You need to. So it's.
I mean, to your point, when you are right, when somebody is writing code, they're not testing their exercise and software development skills at that point.
They're developing.
And they already know what the outcome should be, because you're writing the code, you write the test, and you write the assertion, and the test, the automation when it runs, that does the testing for you, because that'll tell you whether it passes or fails against your assertion, your already known expectation of what it should do.
So here's a question then. Should it be automation developer?
No.
Just because you have front-end developers, you have back-end developers, you have full-stack developers, but I don't...
To be honest, I don't like it. It's the same principle for me. Like, if we jump across to developers, engineers, whatever we want to call them, labeling them by front end, back end, like, again, it hinders them. I know so many front end engineers who,
air quotes, by the way, for those that can't see, air quotes,
who have built skills and primarily worked on front end solutions, but then a business need has changed, or they have delved into a new interest and further developed those skills to then be able to work on back end solutions, right?
Yeah.
So then you don't need to change their title from, if it was front end engineer, then it would have to go to back end engineer. Oh, hold on, now they're full stack. Why can't we just call them engineers or developers? Because, again, we don't need to shoehorn them into a corner and define them by a particular skill, because we're in an industry that is constantly evolving at pace, and we're never actually able to keep up with the pace of innovation, and we're always constantly learning new things. So,
and the other thing. So I want to sort of shift direction slightly, still keeping it within the same thing, but shifting direction very slightly, and looking at sort of the next level of role. So when you're going into a lead role, and the amount of lead roles that I see, the way you have to have automation experience, hands-on automation experience, right? But they won't put it as an automation lead. It will be a QE lead or a quality lead, or, do you see what I mean? But you have to have automation experience to do that role. Now, so, and it's kind of like, okay, that's fine, because then it's a skill set, right? They're saying to be able to lead, you need this skill set. That's fine. But you're not calling it an automation lead. You're calling it quality lead or testing lead. Or so then why underneath the hood are you calling it, automation tester? Or it can't. Do you see what I mean? But then the other piece to that is, I don't necessarily, unless you are going to be hands on, right? So different levels of leadership, and we're going to do a whole episode on leadership very soon, right? But I have this real thing with, being hands-on as a leader is very much an individual contributor type role, right? Leading by example, hands-on, this, that, and the other. So obviously you would need those skills. But if the role's slightly different, where it's more of a coaching role and a strategic role, or then you may not need those skills hands-on, but you need automation awareness, and you need to be able to help make decisions around that. So you need enough knowledge and so on. But you don't call it an automation. I mean, sometimes you do see roles for automation lead. Like you do, right? Sometimes, but majority of the time, they're a QE lead or a QA lead or a test lead or something like that. And then under the hood, it tells you what skills they're looking for. So why not just have that same kind of approach with roles in general? So I don't know, but it just got me thinking a little bit differently there for a second or two. But this whole, it's got to be this or it's got to be that in our industry, in tech, right? Let's broaden it to be tech, right? Agile or waterfall? Playwright
I mean,
or what? Let's say Selenium. Selenium gets a bashing these days, doesn't it? Playwright or Selenium. What else? Oh, Android or iOS. And it's like, but yeah, we see it all the time. It's like, actually, what we should be saying is, what's the problem you're trying to solve in the first place, and what do you need to solve the problem? Right? I know people that have gone, oh, we've got to use Playwright because it's the new thing, you know. And we're on Cyprus, but we've got to use Playwright because it's the new big boy in the market. Okay, but what's the problem you're trying to solve?
mm-hmm.
Right?
And I think that
it doesn't have to be one or the other. You can actually maybe leverage both of them in some way as well. So
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, because you've got to understand the problem statement, what you're trying to solve, and get that context around the particular situation. And this loops back to the duck, rabbit, and the polarities of leadership. And what I mentioned at the start of this podcast, and finding the balance between potentially opposing things to this or that. And in most instances, we never just go with kind of one or the other. Without understanding, we have to have that build up of knowledge to make informed decisions. And to your point, like if it was Selenium or Playwright, you've got to understand it. What's the context and the problem that you're trying to solve? And is it for the whole organization? Or is, say, Selenium or WebDriver.io or Appium, is that actually better for that particular solution? But then Playwright is better for another solution. Doesn't mean you have to do a blanket rollout across the whole entire board. It's the same with like Agile and Waterfall. Like, for one, how often do we see situations where it's completely waterfall or it's completely agile? Most of the time, it's an amalgamation try of many things. Yep. But you've got to understand the yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna strive for no. Yeah, safe's rubbish. But anyway. And they sell it for a lot of money, you know. We're just gonna mishmash everything up and then sell it as a product, and then all the safe people that are listening right now, I'm really sorry. But
you've just dropped my listening.
We've just lost like 50% of our followers. No, I'm not joking. But anyway, I apologize.
But
sorry, Chris.
That's it. Like, you've got to understand it based off your particular situation and the context and what problem you're trying to solve. And without that, like, you know, that it's useless even having that discussion about this or that. And I think that's where a lot of the time, I had it written down in my book as well, like, it's what's missing from these types of conversations. The reasons these type of conversations keep happening in our organizations or happening in our industry and happening on LinkedIn around this and that topics, whether it be automation, tester, manual tester, or something else, is because we're never actually addressing the issue and understanding what is the problem we're trying to solve. And without that context, we're in a loop and we keep going over the same conversations. We never actually find a resolution to the answer and to the problem we're trying to solve, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, I bring it back to leadership. What are leaders in our industry doing, right? And it's on us, it's on all of us to help try and drive a different mindset around it, right? Because if we don't do that, we're never going to evolve, we're never going to change. And it's one of the reasons why we're still in the position we're in. But also, you know, organizations and the top leaders in organizations, it's don't pigeonhole people into these types of roles, or think about quality holistically rather than it just being about automation. Right? don't come at it with the automate everything stance, because you can't. And actually, if you're doing that, you're probably going to cause more problems than you want to solve. If I'm honest, think about what are all the pieces. Think about the outcome you're trying to achieve. Ultimately, what is the outcome you're trying to? Automation should not be your outcome, right? It shouldn't.
Yeah.
If automation is your outcome, then you're not thinking. I mean, you're not thinking right. But if automation should be an enabler to enable you to get you to your outcome, along with other types of testing, other quality enablers that ultimately will come together to do that. That's through people, process, and tools, right? So it's got to start with people in leadership roles and driving a new way of thinking around this stuff, because we need to get away from this whole manual automation, and then we're going to have AI, and then there's going to be a three-way thing: manual, automation, AI, and then you're going to manual AI and automation AI, and then and do you know what? I want to retire a happy man, and it's like if I go through my entire career, and I'd like to think that I'm 46 years old. I know I don't look it.
Still a spring chicken, Stu.
I am. I mean, I'm only the height of a 14-year-old, but actually, no. Actually, nowadays I'm only the height of a 10-year-old. But they're really kids are really big these days. They must have been eating out of the same trough that you've been eating out all your life, Chris, because they're getting big. I mean, my son's like
the Geordie sauce.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what it is. I'm 5'5" and 3/4. I'll have 3/4 is very important. I've got a little story about that, but I'll wait for it. But see, now I've lost my thread. I don't know what I was saying. What was I saying?
Because we digress onto something completely different.
Something completely different. I've completely lost my thread. But it was going to be a really good one as well. It was really important. But for me, it's all about the leaders and making sure that from a leadership perspective, we've got people. Oh, that was it. I don't want to retire an unhappy person, right? So I'm 46 years old. I'd love to retire by the time I'd love to retire by the time I'm 55, but I don't think that's going to financially happen. Maybe 60, right? Maybe 60. Still got enough energy in the old body to do some stuff if I can sort out these health issues that I'm battling through at the moment, because that's making me feel a lot older. So by the time this is my call to action for everybody out there, right? Help me out. Help me retire a happy man, and let's get rid of this whole manual automation debate. Manual tester, automation tester debate. Help me out. Let me retire a happy person in no more than 14 years, right? No more than 14 years. That's what I'm putting out there. So if we can do away with it before then, I'm going to be so happy. And I can actually be happy on my build up to retirement. That would be even better. So help me out. Come on.
You mentioned there about AI, and I've already seen people using AI to come up with loads of different titles.
AI, lad. AI, lad.
but using it to come up with loads of different titles, and it just made us think. After this, what I'm going to do is, or maybe one of the listeners can do it actually, is, in fact, let's put it out to the listeners.
Yeah.
So, because there's going to be different ways of framing the question and it might offer different results. Use some AI of your choice and ask it how we can solve the divide between manual tester and automation tester.
Can I do it now?
And see what ideas it comes up with. Obviously, the way in which you frame the question is going to give you a different output, but it would be interesting. And I mean, if you want, even comment your own thoughts when we publish this out to the platforms, LinkedIn and YouTube and things like that. But if you have had the curiosity and you've stuck it in ChatGPT or something else, then post the response as well, because it'd be interesting to see what it suggests and see if actually, as humans, we've all been being a bit silly, and all we needed was a little bit of a prompt to tell us how to solve a long-standing problem.
Do you know what? So ChatGPT is still going. It's come up with six different things. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to tell you what they are, right? I'll get this. I'll get this, and I'll share it with you, Chris. And then, but it's come up with 6 different things, and each of those things have got 2 to 4 different bullet points.
All right,
right, so to step through. So actually, no. Do you know what? I'll say one of them. Promote a balanced testing strategy. Mm-hmm. And then, but then it goes into say both manual and automated testing have their place. Don't call it manual. That's the whole point.
Yeah. But anyway, again, we're divulging a little bit and we're going on to AI. But just as a quick point, this is why, well, maybe's in this day and age where we're starting to leverage AI more and more and more. AI is at the minute it's leveraging what's already out there, the articles, all the points of reference that's out there on the internet, and it amalgamates them together and gives us an output. This is our chance as human beings to address the issue, stop calling it by people by their title and defining it by their skill set in that way with manual and automation. Let's stop that. Let's get some more material out there around this to better educate our industry. So when we come to the point in time in a few years when we really are leveraging AI and using it to its maximum capabilities, it's using decent reference material, because we all know how our tests fail because of the data sucking, right? And you can't really rely on it half the time because of poor data. It's the same thing, with AI. We're not going to leverage its benefits if we don't build those foundations and the groundworks as human beings. So
and that, do you know what, that's a really, really valid point. And for me, it's just different testing techniques, right, that we can use, right? And then we've got different tools that we can use to apply those different testing techniques. It's as simple as that in my mind. It's really not. It's not rocket science, people. If it was rocket science, I would not have made a career of 27 years because I ain't no rocket scientist. Mm-hmm. But also to that point, yes, we should be thinking about exactly that, right? Righting the wrongs and correcting it for the future. In terms of what thinking about what we're going to be, what information's out there in the World Wide Web, but also at a human level. I'm coming back to the point about in the communities, in the organizations, let's change the narrative. All right. And that is, if that's the one thing you take away from this podcast, other than mine and Chris's brain farts and, how good we look for our age or anything like that. Right. I mean, Chris isn't 46, by the way. Chris is actually 75. Chris is 75 years old.
I'll tell you what I feel it sometimes.
You should see him in shorts. Wow. Anyway, mate, if you were 75, it's like, what youthful fountain are you drinking from? That's all I'm going to say. If that's one thing you take away from this podcast, it's exactly that. What can you do to change the narrative in our industry? Right? And when we put this out there, comment on the channel. on YouTube. Drop your comments in the chat on YouTube. Hit us up on LinkedIn. We'll put the question out there. But I'm really interested to, for me, it's, as I say, I want to retire a happy man, and I don't feel like I'm going to retire a happy man, Chris, because this is going to keep going on.
Well, hopefully people can be encouraged after this conversation to start talking more. If you are a head of, director, a lead, whatever, and you're in some sort of leadership role, have that conversation with your team about titles and removing of the skill sets from the title, and have a conversation about what it means to them. Talk about the skills that are involved in their particular roles that would flourish in their roles and responsibilities, or their job descriptions. Exactly. Talk about what it means to them when they're called a particular name by title. What's the emotional response that drives from your team members, so you can get to understand them a little bit more and what they would like to be referenced to. And same if you have managers who call you automation engineer or manual tester or whatever it might be, have that conversation with your lead or your manager as well, or the rest of your teammates. But just open it up, because the power for change is in everybody's hands, and it starts with a conversation and understanding one another. And then from there, we can make positive change across the industry.
It does indeed. It does indeed. Go on.
And if anyone is having success stories off the back of this, or you've already tried something and you've had them conversations and you've got a successful way to change that narrative, let us know. Put it in the comments, and we'll read it out to the community in the next one, and hopefully start some good discussions online as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we said earlier, once we have the website up and running, we'll have forums on there that we can get into more chat about and stuff like that. So yeah, maybe we should start a Slack group as well, Chris. Who knows? All right, maybe we just create a Slack forum. But this has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed letting off some steam. I've needed to let off some steam.
It's a passionate topic.
It is, and I think it's one of those things that gets talked about all the time, but we never get to a solution. We never get to any sort of resolution, and it just keeps going round and round and round in circles, like a teddy bear. Do you know that little rhyme? Round and round the circles, like a teddy bear. No?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, unfortunately, I do.
You do know it, don't you? You do know it. Yeah.
I don't think that's going to put me to sleep tonight, though, Stu. I think that might give me some nightmares.
Well, if it's me doing it, then yeah, it probably would do, to be fair. But so we've just got to stop going around in circles, right? And whilst it's always fun on LinkedIn to read the debates and have, there's so much more interesting things we can be, talking about, right? So let's make it happen, right? Let's make it. You all have the power, right? And don't forget though, with great power comes great responsibility, right? Uncle Ben said that, not the guy that does the rice. Spider-Man's uncle. So remember, you've all got the power. So let's make a movement happen. I think we can, if nothing else, just help me retire a happy man, right? And if I retire a happy man, then that means Chris will as well, because he'll retire after me, many years after me. But then we can, in the old people's home, when he comes to see me, he can talk to me about it and still tell me, Stu, it's still happening.
Yeah, so hopefully I'm not pushing you around calling people manual testers back then.
You're a manual wheelchair pusher. That's what you'd be. So yeah, but no, this has been a lot of fun. I think it's a great episode, great discussion. Again, we've just touched the surface of that the actual topic of this and that is a big thing in our industry. I mean, I think again, there's more on that, but we need to wrap this one up, else we'll be going on all night long. Anything else you want to finish off with, Chris, on the topic itself before we close the episode out?
No, I think that's it. I think we've opened the book, yeah, right, and we've had a bit of fun with it, and you can tell obviously it's a passionate topic, and it's something that's been going on for a long time. But I think that's the Greg sausage roll, mate.
Yeah.
But I think if we when we put this out and we see what people's thoughts and views are, and this might be something that we delve into a bit further, and it may be something that you as the listener really feel passionate about as well, or you've got a different take on things and you want to explore it from a different avenue, and then this might be an opportunity for you to come onto the podcast as a guest, and in a few months' time we go back over this type of conversation and explore it from a different direction as well. So like I say, add any comments and thoughts, especially like your own, as well as ChatGPT. If you were listening earlier and you want to include some of them prompts, then by all means do. But yeah, I think that concludes obviously the discussion for this time round. And like I say, it's been a good one. But I look forward to episode 11. I always look forward to the next one. And and
we've got actually just on that one, we're gonna have a special guest on episode 11. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I know she'll be bringing the energy. Kind of going away, so it's female. But yeah, I know that there'll be a lot of energy on that episode for sure. And maybe we'll play a game of this or that with the guest. There's a little bit of an intro. Who knows? Maybe that'll be our thing.
Or maybe they bring their own game.
Ooh, another little hint. Oh, that's slime. Okay, cool. So before we end up giving too much away, I think we better wrap up. So thank you everybody for listening. Thank you for watching. You know the drill. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button wherever it is. I don't know yet because I haven't put it up yet, but it's anywhere around here. If you're listening on Spotify or any of those other wonderful podcast channels, then obviously give us a follow, give us a like, give us a share. Follow us on LinkedIn. We'll put all our posts up on there of the episodes, but also for news about when the website is gonna drop. Follow us there as well. And yeah, just hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll catch you next time on Quality Talks. Take care.
Take care, everyone.